Good morning, everyone, from the First Spiritualist Church of Alabama. We are very much distinguishing ourselves from common religious beliefs. We've said it before, and we're going to talk about that again today. There is a great chasm of difference between a belief and a knowledge. Spiritualism is a science, it is a philosophy, and it does fit the role of a religion. It's a science because we investigate, we analyze, segregate, and catalog facts, unlike religions that just want to read from ancient holy books and derive a determination or a belief from things they've not investigated. We investigate thoroughly the law of nature, which we would call also the law of God. We do not accept assertions. The mere fact of someone saying that a miracle had been performed or that certain conditions existed in a far off day means nothing to a spiritualist unless the same fact can be proved by present day investigations and present day knowledge. I draw attention to this phenomena of this ring. Spiritualism is a religion. It's a religion of knowing, not the religion of faith. If you know something, you don't have faith. You have a knowing, you have a knowledge. We do not believe that perhaps there's a subtle energy which rules and guides and permeates this universe merely because religionists have told us and expected us to have a belief in which we were taught. But we know that there is such an energy or force because the scientists of the world have proved beyond a doubt that this force or energy exists. Energy doesn't die. There's no disputing that. The more we investigate, the more we seek to know, we are confronted with the fact that there is an infinite intelligence which rules, guides, and directs this universe. Religionists call this infinite intelligence God. We do not base these knowings on ancient writings and ancient books of questionable sources. We therefore accept the word of the scientist not because it has been preached, but because it has been proved. We've been told in the past that there was a heaven to which human beings might go after the change called death if they had lived the right sort of life. If they did not live rightly, and by whose definition rightly is, according to creeds, and if they did not accept Jesus as the saving power of the individual, no matter what good they had contributed to the universe or to the community in which they live, they could not enjoy the beauty of this heavenly world. This story has been told to us that heaven is a place foursquare where the streets are of transparent gold, the gates of the temple or the city are studded with precious jewels, and there is a throne about which angels throng and sing to God. The story, by the way, was never given to us by Jesus of Nazareth. Never. But of course, if you don't read the story, you wouldn't know that. You only know what you're being told by religious study guides and so called authorities from the pulpit, and of course, what's handed down to you by culture and tradition. We wondered and we investigated, but the mighty telescopes of the world have never been able to locate this city. The airplanes have sailed many miles into the firmament, but have never found this habitation. We did feel, however, that there was survival. How did we arrive at this conclusion? not because of religious faith, but because we recognize within the law of nature that nothing can possibly be destroyed. It can only change its form of manifestation. Scientific investigation. We've not believed in this continuity of life, we have accepted it as truth. While we did not understand it or in what manner souls dwelt in everlastingness, we have not been ready to accept this theory of a heaven far off. A place of absolute idleness would be a waste of God's great time in his vast universe. Furthermore, it would give it would grow very monotonous throughout eternity simply to sit back, sing songs, play a harp. We love to hear wonderful voices and symphonies. And if we had to listen to them forever, it would grow very, very tiresome. They don't think about what eternity is, do they? They do not think about the concept of eternity, do they? We would not therefore think of heaven as a place in which the souls of men dwell with this sort of monotony. So we began to investigate, for we wanted to know, not just believe. And how were we to know? In going back to the history of man and tracing his footsteps, we found that somewhere along the way, since man stood upright and before he took on his present form of manifestation, through some means, this great intelligence, which we call God, spoke to man through man himself by means of prophets and sayers. Some of them were crude, and some of them we could not accept at all. But this was at least an approach. Man interpreted visions according to the light he had then had. 2,000 years ago, a teacher came into the world. He was known as Jesus of Nazareth. We are not interested in the manner of his birth. The fact remains that Jesus came, whether you accept him as a personal savior or not, as whether you accept him as a teacher or philosopher. The important thing is that he gave to the world very definite knowledge. If you ever read the story, instead of just accepting what you're being told, knowledge is more important than belief. Jesus never performed a miracle in all the days of his ministry. His miracles were not miracles, for a miracle is something that must deviate from the known laws of nature, and God's law is not immutable. So Christ must have used natural law to produce so called phenomena that were attributed to him. Since he worked in accordance with this natural law, we can accept his demonstrations taking place according to natural law. We believe that Christ did heal the blind, and we believe that he caused the lame to walk, the deaf to hear, because today these things are being done by means of the same law as was used of Jesus of Nazareth. We go to doctors and hospitals to get the same results. We know that two angels appeared to Christ upon the mount, not because the story is recorded, but because in the materializing seances, we have seen angels appear to their loved ones upon the earth plane today. I've experienced it myself, not because I read it in some ancient book, some ancient story. Christ demonstrated his philosophy. If he had not returned after he was crucified, the world he would not have proved the continuity of life. Instead, as the crowning effort of his life, he materialized to his apostles after his crucifixion. He told as much more, he told us as much. If you believe upon the things that I do, these things shall you also do, and greater things. If this Jesus was the God that people try to make him, he would not have said, if you believe these things, you would do greater, indicating clearly that you would be greater than the guy that you're trying to worship. It is the business of every minister of every denomination to do these things. If he cannot, he is not demonstrating the precepts of his master. We must know. Spiritualism is a religion of knowing. We want to know something of the heavenly world to which we are going, and the only way we can have absolute knowledge is to talk with someone who has been there. So we make it a part of our religion and science to investigate through mediumship the nature of that other world. Much knowledge of that country has been taught to us. We're told that it is a world of reunion, a world of understanding, a world of constant endeavor, a world not of chanting and idleness, but of labor, of doing. We're told of the influence upon us of those who have gone beyond as we sojourn in this life, and of the joys that they attain in watching over us and guiding us and communicating with us. I can only imagine the joy that Linda would have found in surprising me with the return of this ring after 7 years. If you've heard the story of that, profound, the latest communication I've had, not the first and not the last, but the latest and one of the most profound communications I've had in my life. There was a time when attempting to investigate this heaven was not done. We were taught not to ask questions, since we should simply believe. It's controlling. That's not wanting to have knowledge. That's not setting you free. That is to control you. That time has passed. Spiritualism does not say, I think, I believe. It says, I know. We know that this infinite intelligence lives. We know that our friends live. We know there is a world to which we're going. We know that we are to meet our loved ones. We know we are to become part of this angelic throne that can return, though usually unseen, to loved ones left behind. We know we're going to the state of consciousness that we have created through our own effort. We also know there is no soul that is lost in this kingdom, that the door of reformation is never closed, that though we may wander and suffer much, somewhere and somehow we must find our way back to this universal, infinite intelligence. He is ever ready to welcome us, this unseen friend, this unseen God, who is not a person, but a law, intelligently manifesting, creative in its activity, unchangeable. We've learned to know that as we obey or disobey the laws under which we are functioning, do we find happiness or unhappiness? The fact cannot be denied, because if we transgress law, punishment is the result. If we sow wild oats, we reap a harvest. If we abuse the physical body, we suffer pain. We may escape a few times, but we eventually will pay the penalty. What then does spiritualism enable us to do? To walk in a knowing consciousness with this God, to listen to this beautiful choirs of ministering angels, our spirit people, living in the other dimension, humans as we are, loving as we do, weeping sometimes as we weep, with their invisible hands reaching out to us, watching, hoping that we will catch the vibration that they are spiritually sending to guide us along the pathway of life. Not faith, not belief, knowledge. Our prayer then is this. Thou, O Lord, mastermind of which I am a part, enable me to know and to interpret the keen desire of every human heart, to be able to weep with those who weep, to sing with those who sing, to need silently when another kneels, to manifest in thy great spaces of eternity of which I am a part. In the hour of striving and longing to know, may I consciously, through desire, learn to grasp thy hand, O infinite source, and to know thee, God. Huge difference. And if you read the story of this Jesus, who billions claim to follow, you'll see that his was not a matter of saying, believe me. His was a matter of proving, see what I've done. Somewhere in this journey, man took over, built these huge institutions of churches and religions, and took this power away from you and separated you from this infinite intelligence, this God of great energy of which we are part. They're denying you this knowledge. And this energy is so strong that it has moved us to open up this door again, to lead you, to help you to see this door that's opened up to you, to become not only a person of knowing instead of belief, but to become a person connected with this universal energy and understand that no one can pay the price of your mistakes. No one can pay the price of your quote unquote sins. You're violating the laws of nature, the laws of God. No one but you can pay those prices. No one died for you. Nowhere in the story of this Jesus did he proclaim, I came to die for you. Nowhere in the story of this Jesus did he proclaim, celebrate my birthday. Nowhere in the story of this Jesus did he, this Jesus, say, I was born of a virgin. Nowhere. He was known, and Joseph was known as his father, and Mary was known as his mother. And the connection he had with his parents were the same that most of us have with our parents. It was not some supernatural phenomena. What Jesus in this story was able to do was to connect with this infinite intelligence, this knowledge. And yes, was he one? If you read John 17, that the Trinitarians promote as saying that Jesus was God. In essence, Jesus was God, a divinity of that sort. When he said, I and the Father are one, he continued to say, and they never finished this, he continued to say, I pray that my followers become one with us as I am one with you. It's not just a Trinity. We are all one. This infinite intelligence, this great energy of which we are all part, it never dies. There is a continuity and there is a connection. And you can know, not simply believe. We're not asking you to close your eyes and have faith. We're asking you to raise your hands, to reach out and accept each other as we walk through this space, this journey, as we sojourn through this life, understanding the continuity and understanding eternity in a way that religionists don't. They're waving flags. They're promoting this temporary life here with no concept of the word eternity, no concept of it whatsoever. It is simply a matter of words to them. To us, it's a matter of knowing. We don't live in fear of the Trumps and the Bidens and the Russians and so forth. We seek to not only become and be a total part of this infinite intelligence, this energy that we know we are part of, we have to embrace it. And we want to exude this power of acceptance and love instead of this life of division and criticism constantly. Same-sex marriage, boundaries, and all this division that is constantly in our face. United we stand, divided we fall. How clear can it be if you have a knowledge, not a belief? Belief destroys. Knowledge is your savior. Welcome to the First Spiritualist Church of Alabama. Peace and love as we sojourn on this plane, preparing ourselves for the next. Not an eternity of boring praising, but an eternity of productivity and things to do. Thank you for your time this morning. Have a wonderful day of love and peace.